Generally.
I'm not happy about this.
Yeah, I'm not happy.
I'm never happy when anyone with my money. I'm gangster like that.
Yeah, well,
it's my money.
They also don't allow you to write anything off. They don't allow you to write anything off, and they tax you 35%.
And also, for the longest time, it was a very risky business because you couldn't put the money in the bank, right? The banks wouldn't take your dirty pot money that you hippies got by what? Smoking pot? That money can't change the holy sepulcher that is a bank. The median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits, 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a t-shirt that says Federal Boob Inspector.
Actor Woody Harrelson and Bill Maher recently had a business meeting that quickly devolved into a vicious critique of California's political apparatus. What began as a lighthearted conversation turned into a full-fledged outburst directed at Governor Gavin Newsom and the system they claim is stifling businesses. The two co-own a cannabis company in the state. Not only were their tales amusing, but they also revealed a much more serious issue that millions of Californians had been silently coping with for years. This talk quickly went from being humorous to being very real, so fasten your seatbelt. Maher attacked California's business environment right away, claiming that it is now almost hard for business owners to thrive there. Furthermore, it wasn't an outsider hurling stones from a distance. He has a personal stake in a business there, so his displeasure is felt in a new way. Numerous large corporations have already packed up and departed, making the criticism even more difficult to ignore.
We're trying. It's not easy to make a business work in California.
California just messes with every business.
I mean, I don't want to start this off. Well, why not? By just shitting on California, but California deserves to be shit on for a lot of this kind of stuff, and people know, and this is why people flee the state. Like what is that?
Watermelon juice.
I'll have a look.
Tesla moved its business to Texas, Oracle made a move, Hewlett-Packard relocated, Charles Schwab was no different. Additionally, smaller business owners have been under much more pressure despite the fact that billion-dollar enterprises typically make headlines. Many people are unable to keep up with the rising costs, taxes, and restrictions. Eventually, the question shifts from why are businesses leaving to why would they stay? The number that truly attracted notice then appeared. According to Maher and Harrelson, the tax burden associated with their business can reach up to 35%, which is enough to make any entrepreneur cringe. California already has one of the highest state income tax rates in the United States. When federal taxes are included, the total becomes extremely expensive.
California sucks as far as, well, all businesses, but certainly this one. They still treat it like it's poison.
They treat
Either
it like
it's legal, it's not.
Yeah, they treat it like you're lucky that we allow you to do this, and so we're going to tax you 35%, which is way more. It's more than double anything. I don't even know what's the second, but like guns, 10%, right? Like just to give you.
What's beer?
Beer's like what, 3% or something? It's ridiculous that they can just tax the fuck out of you and make it so hard.
States like Florida and Texas, on the other hand, continue to draw businesses in part because they have no state income tax. It makes a difference. Lots. Business owners eventually begin to think pragmatically instead of politically. Survival becomes the top goal if such a large portion of your income vanishes before you even expand the business. And that's precisely the reason so many individuals are making their way out. However, Maher claims that taxes are just one aspect of the nightmare. The true weariness stems from attempting to make sense of California's never-ending bureaucracy. Before you can even open your doors, operating a cannabis business there requires navigating a maze of permits, approvals, inspections, fees, and compliance regulations, local authorizations, state permits, environmental evaluations, zoning clearances.
A vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, permit office, how may I hinder you?
Each step adds a new challenge, costs money, and takes time. Additionally, the process never truly stops once the business is up and running because new requirements are constantly being added. It is not only costly, but also taxing. The legalization of the cannabis industry in California was accompanied by so much red tape that its success seems almost coincidental. After that, the discussion took an even stranger turn. Maher and Harrelson found that even though cannabis is completely legal in California, many banks still won't take money related to marijuana transactions. Just consider how crazy that sounds. The product's sale is permitted by the state. Customers may lawfully purchase it. It happily pays taxes to the government. However, because federal regulations haven't caught up, business owners still find it difficult to use the standard banking system.
Well,
Generally.
I'm not happy about this.
Yeah, I'm not happy.
I'm never
about
happy when anybody fucks with my money. I'm gangster like that.
it. Yeah, well,
They're fucking with my money.
they also don't allow you to write anything off. They don't allow you to write anything off, and they tax you 35%.
And also, for the longest time, it was a very risky business because you couldn't put the money in the bank, right? The banks wouldn't take your dirty fucking pot money that you fucking hippies got by what? Smoking pot? That money can't change your the holy sepulcher that is a bank.
Because of this, a lot of cannabis firms run primarily on cash, which leads to logistical disarray, accounting difficulties, and security dangers. It's the ideal illustration of a system that legalizes an enterprise in the middle and then expects everyone else to clean up the damage. Additionally, Maher clarified that he is not opposing all regulations. His problem is with the attitude that underlies contemporary overregulation, which holds that governments can eradicate all potential risks by enacting enough regulations. He believes that fanaticism has gotten entirely out of hand. Life is full with surprises. Problems do arise. A completely safe world cannot be achieved by government regulation or paperwork. However, in an effort to achieve an unachievable standard, lawmakers continue to impose layer upon layer of restrictions rather than acknowledging that reality.
Semaphore estimates that if the red tape could be cut on everything that's currently stuck in the renewable queue, the United States would be 80% zero carbon in 7 years. The enemy to clean air isn't just big oil, it's big permitting. It's not that America isn't able to get anything done, it's that we're not allowed to. Of course, there should be consideration of the environment on everything we build, but as so often happens on the left, they seem to have no ability to recognize when they've taken a concept way too far and are in fact hurting their own cause.
Eventually, those regulations begin to suffocate the same individuals they purport to defend. Innovation decelerates, enterprises are buried, life gets more difficult on a daily basis. Regulation eventually ceases to be beneficial and begins to impede advancement. Maher claims that California now finds it difficult to finish even simple projects because of the same bureaucratic gridlock. The state's infrastructure record reveals a far worse picture for a state that consistently positions itself as America's future. Approved in 2008, the high-speed rail project between Los Angeles and San Francisco is still unfinished, and its expenses have skyrocketed above initial projections. Large bridge projects take decades to complete. Expansions of highways proceed slowly. The pace of public transit projects is excruciatingly sluggish and costs billions.
America's become Gulliver, the giant that got tied down with 1,000 tiny ropes by Lilliputians, the horde of little people who do big damage. Build back better? Sounds good. So does shovel-ready jobs. Yeah, exactly.
California lacks execution rather than ambition. Additionally, even straightforward objectives begin to become generational projects when every initiative becomes mired in never-ending reviews, approvals, lawsuits, and bureaucratic delays. Maher then brought up one of the discussion's most ironic points: the enormous regulatory apparatus in California, which is purportedly designed to safeguard the environment, may be producing waste on an absurd scale. For a single project, environmental studies alone can result in mountains of documentation totaling thousands upon thousands of pages. Even more is added with each permit, report, inspection, and compliance filing. The process itself uses a huge amount of resources because the system has grown so bloated. The irony is nearly self-written. Development is slowed to a crawl by a bureaucracy designed to protect the environment, which ultimately drowns everything in interminable paperwork.
Environmental impact statements used to be a few pages long. Now there are thousands of pages of legalistic nonsense and take an average of 4.5 years to complete, with thousands of bureaucrats filling out millions of paper forms that kill hundreds of forests to answer the question, is this good for the environment?
It's the kind of paradox that aptly sums up the greater issue. The story that followed seems so ridiculous that it might have been a comedic sketch. In order to solve the city's severe sanitation issues, San Francisco sought to build a public restroom. It seems very simple, doesn't it? However, for whatever reason, the project grew to a $1 million plan. Officials subsequently decided to abandon it completely due to the severe criticism. A private business then intervened and offered to construct the toilet at no cost. Solved the issue? Not near at all. The free project somehow ended up costing around the same $1 million once permits, fees, inspections, and all the necessary bureaucratic hoops became involved. The savings were completely consumed by bureaucracy.
So the city tried to build a public toilet last year, but then gave up when the cost hit $1.7 million. Not $1.7 million for a public toilet system, $1.7 million for one toilet. And this wasn't some magic toilet that catches your phone when you drop it. So then a private company took pity on San Francisco and offered to build them their toilet for free. But after, quote, project management, construction, management, architecture, and engineering fees, permits, civic design review, surveys, contract preparation, and cost estimation, the free toilet was still going to cost almost $1 million.
It was nearly unbelievable, but it perfectly captured the issue Maher had been outlining all along. By the end of the discussion, what had begun as two business owners venting had grown into a far larger criticism of a system that many believe is crumbling under its own weight. Maher and Harrelson were not political campaigners nor fiery ideologues when they spoke. They were speaking from first-hand experience with the effects of these measures: the oppressive taxes, the turmoil in banks, the limitless licenses, the unfinished projects, the oversized bureaucracy.
Meanwhile, the median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits, 15 from the Planning Commission, 26 from the Public Utilities Commission and the Fire Department, 19 from building inspectors, 17 from the Public Works, 10 related to public spaces, and 1 from a guy in a t-shirt that says Federal Pool Inspector.
There are inconsistencies everywhere you look. All of this, in their opinion, leads to the same fundamental problem: a government so preoccupied with dictating every result that it has lost how to just get things done. And that's why so many people find resonance in this discussion. Unmatched talent, world-class industries, amazing weather, and tremendous economic power are just a few of California's extraordinary assets. The possibility still exists. However, Maher contends that the state continues to undermine itself with layers of dysfunction that get worse every year. The cycle of companies quitting, projects delaying, expenses rising, and mounting anger will continue unless those issues are honestly addressed. Because ultimately, even Californians begin to wonder the same thing that Maher and Harrelson did during this discussion. How much longer can this system continue before it breaks down due to its own weight?